Hours 34 the time in Guyana. It's now time for the hot seat. And of course, today in focus is housing. The Minister of Communities, Ms. Valerie Patterson, should have been here. However, she says she can't make it because some other things did come up. But she has promised not to leave us empty-handed, but to have her personal assistant to come and share with us. He is none other than Mr. Remington Nelson down at the Ministry of Communities, and I certainly hope that Mr. Nelson is going to be as able and capable of dealing with the questions that we've got about housing in the absence of the Minister. Nevertheless, good afternoon and welcome to the hot seat, Mr. Nelson.
Thank you, Stan. Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to your listeners/viewers. Happy to be here. Hopefully I can do justice to the minister's assignment.
All right, now, the Ministry of Communities, which of course deals with housing, is a very big ministry. And we would have learned also over the years of some of the problems that they would have faced, as well as some of the achievements. Now that you've got the Central Housing and Planning Authority, which is seemingly more proactive in what is happening in terms of housing, there are lots of challenges. One of the things that has been highlighted, and only yesterday we have heard the Minister addressing the media about it, is the backlog that you have of applicants for housing. So first off, why is that so? Why is there a backlog, and what seems to be the problem in being able to address this as quickly as possible?
All right, let me just back up. Actually, she is the minister within the Ministry of Communities. So there's the substantive minister is Honorable Ronald Vulcan, and then there are two ministers within the ministry, Honorable Valerie Adams Patterson, who has responsibility for housing, and Honorable Dawn Hastings Williams. She has responsibility for water and interland development. All right, to the question of why the backlog. In short, it's the demand outstrips supply. The demand for housing outstrips or surpasses the government's ability to provide housing, affordable housing, that is, for the citizenry. In short, that's the situation. There are people who I have heard this argument. Oh, Guyana got enough land. Why we got to pay so much for land, and why the government can't just give you a piece of land? Up to yesterday, a man walked in the office and said, "I just want a piece of land." As the APNU plus CFC government has been saying, the president first talked about this. It is not about giving a person a plot of land or a piece of land. The term that is used is, we use in the housing sector is serviced lots. A piece of land, you just can't go and build on a piece of land. The land has got to be prepared, infrastructure works have got to be executed so that when you go to build, there is water available, there is electricity available, and more than that, now this president has been talking about building communities so that all the amenities that families would make families wholesome, that would contribute to making families wholesome, should be in place before we can put people in a space to live, not just give them some place and say, look, go make yourself live happily ever after. So that costs. So the government will have to find the money or raise the money to make more land available so that we can have.
But that's why we pay taxes.
Of course. But it's not, the government is not only responsible for housing. There's
true, but we would have known, for example, in the years leading up to the change in government, it was reported widely from some of the audits that were done in the Central Housing and Planning Authority that the government made a windfall when it came to housing, in terms of the prices that were house lots were being sold for, and what they would have gotten, and what was actually spent back on preparing some of these areas. They would have had billions of dollars, hence we would have seen the clandestine arrangement to lend some of those billions to another agency. So it is a situation of there is money. What is happening with that money, and why the slothfulness in preparation of affordable house lots?
I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to comment on that. You talked about some windfall. I wouldn't be able to comment on that because I'm not privy to those details. Last financial year, the housing did not benefit from the national coffers. The money that was budgeted came from the housing fund, which would have been monies that came in as a result of sale of land, etc. And again this year, in 2017, if you go through the minister's budget, you would see that the $5.4 or $5.8 billion that would be spent this year on housing is coming from the housing fund and not from the national purse. So one other point, let's not forget that the 25,000 active applications that the minister would have talked about, this was inherited by the current government. So this was a situation that existed pre 2015, May 2015. It is going to take some time to alleviate that. What we can assure your audience is that the government is doing everything possible to speed up where practicable its housing drive. Hence the thrust to develop these duplexes, condominiums, townhouses, so that, as the minister would have said, if you have, whereas a space, this square footage of space would have provided housing for, let's say, for our conversation's sake, 20 people, 20 families. If we were to construct a condominium, 2, 3, 4 stories, then we can automatically increase the number of families that we provide housing for.
And this seems to be a foregone conclusion, so most likely feasibility studies would have been done on the condominiums, duplexes that you speak about, right? You would have done feasibility studies already about this.
I would imagine. So I mean, I'm not down on the. Okay, I was going to say on the ground. It's not in the project section that would have been responsible for that, but because the government has been, and the minister has been talking about, as if you would have again gone through the minister's report, you would see that one of the things they said is that why housing was slowed up in the last years, because when you applied to do A, B, or C, there was no study, there was no information, there was no data, and so as a result of that, the powers that be said that just hold a minute, we need to have this information, so what we are doing, our actions are informed by information and data that we are making sense and not just doing something for the sake of doing it.
All right. Now, but I still want to still keep it on the duplexes and the condos aspect of things. Has some due process or research been done as it relates to the social and the health aspects of building duplexes, building condos, knowing what happens? When I say that, take for example as it relates to health, we build a condo or we build a duplex which houses so many people in a smaller space obviously, as opposed to house lots. And if the ventilation and certain things are not health-wise, that didn't take into consideration the health of citizens. One person gets TB there, which is airborne. You have an entire community that could be infected. Outside of the fact that we look at the social issues and persons' social standings, how you're putting persons there. Has that been thought out? Has that been mapped out? Because it's a concern of most citizens.
Right. So I can't say definitively yes, but the concept of a number of families living together in a small space is not new to Ghana. We have had both. I'm aware of in Linden, where I grew up, the range houses in Lane Avenue, where I spent some time as a youngster. We have the same situation. So it's not something new to. As a matter of fact, it's not new to humanity. So I would venture to say that given the emphasis on planning done by the planning department, that all of those aspects would be.
Well, I can tell you, the TB people have not been consulted.
Mm-hmm.
They're very flabbergasted that something like this is going ahead, and there's no consultation with them.
All right. So what I'll do, I'll make a note of that and for sure raise it with the minister. So when she comes at your next program, for sure she will be able to answer definitively.
You did say that it is not anything new, but not really belaboring the point,
mm-hmm.
but you've also got to have contingencies in place also for outbreaks of illnesses and people's health. We just had a report of an outbreak of dengue in Region 9, and we know the evacuation process has already been started because so that is the thing that many persons are concerned about. You're living in a very small space and someone picks up TB that you don't even know because it's hence something. But as you did say, you will deal with that. You'll ask the minister to deal with that when she comes on the program.
Definitely.
As we move, one of the other things that is riveting to people, and it's under your watch as the ministry, is the issue of squatting. It's been a problematic thing for years. However, there are persons who are pointing to this being more of a political thing. The issue of squatting. They remember as far back as 1992, 1993, when there was a split of the then leadership of the PNC after losing power. One of those political leaders would have said to citizens in Georgetown, and they had a lot of kudos and respect from people at that time. Go squat. We've seen over the years there have been several attempts, particularly in the city of Georgetown, when it is time to remove persons who squatted. Now, for example, the dam that is the front road, and the dam is now a permanent housing structure, and that was a dam that was a reserve for the cleaning of the canal there. It is now a permanent reserve. Remember the standoff with citizens and the government agencies responsible for removing them. It has become, the norm. All of it is becoming the norm, and many persons are afraid of it in the sense that you see people continually squatting on lands, and there seems to be, in all fairness to your agency, there seems to be this perception, but once I squat, they gotta give me land. But there seems to be no system in place to prevent it from happening in the first place, or even to remove it when it happens. What are you folks doing about that?
All right. Let me link this to what you asked when you mentioned the whole thing of communicable diseases with people living in small spaces. I think the very people who engage in this illegal activity need to bear that in mind. That squatting, it is illegal, but the whole social and health situation should also bear heavily upon their minds when they think about squatting. Right? Just want to put that out there. Squatting is illegal. But of course, you're dealing with human beings. And the government still has to show that understanding side, but let me again, it is unacceptable, it is illegal. While we're advocating for law and order, the government will not just go about willy-nilly manner demolishing structures to leave people homeless. So the government is working on these solutions that would increase the provision of low-income households through partnership with private sector and civil society organizations. There's also the implementation of an integrated and comprehensive approach in the planning and design of settlements and the regularization of squatting areas. In this new financial year, some 21 areas will be regularized in Region 10, Region 5, Region 6, Region 2. There's going to be the enhancement of the beneficiary selection process through policy review with an emphasis on low-income earners. If I should back up to a point I made about the integrated and comprehensive approach in the planning and design of settlements, again, all those issues that you mentioned earlier, again, because of this integrated and comprehensive approach in the planning, all of that, I'm suggesting that all of that would be taken on board in this approach. It's not just running out there and doing something. It has to be taken and will be taken on board.
When the rains fall and the place floods, there's a lot of bashing you folks get. Any government in power, as a matter of fact. And it has already been known that flooding is not just symptomatic to drains not being cleaned or too much rainfall, but it's also how people treat the environment. And if it is you've got an entire dam that is supposed to be used for the drag lines to be able to go there and do the desilting of the drains, the canals, but they can't do it. It contributes to flooding that happens.
Well, it behoves all of us, whether people like yourself who have a voice in the society, whether it be people like me, and both as a public servant and as a religious leader, to appeal to the higher moral of people to say, just remember that, as the wise man said somewhere in his writing, if you sow to the wind, you will reap the whirlwind. So we need to discourage people at every level from breaking the law, at every level, without regard for any difference. We need to discourage illegal activities. And squatting, as we talked about, is one. Because you rightfully pointed out, and I pass on the front road and see that canal there is clogged up. The Himax cannot get behind there because of the buildings or the structures on the.
But you've regularized right now. Most people got electricity, they got telephones, and everything is regularized.
Oh no, I don't think that was regularized now. I don't think so.
They got a lot.
No,
they got
hold
a lot,
on.
so
No,
they
let's
could get your bills coming to that lot.
Hold on,
to the
Stan.
post office.
No, Stan. It's just, let's be careful. It has not been regularized now, and I don't even think.
I'm not. When I say now, I don't mean within the last year or anything. But
I don't know that it's been regularized. But it's the point is it's a problem that has to be fixed, and the minister in her year-end report addressed and not someone.
Would GPL give electricity to a place or to someone, or would they install meters and run wires to something that is not verifiably a legal place?
I can't speak for GPL. But I'm thinking if we have these people there, their families, they're single mothers with young children, and they're in a bad situation. While we are working to get them out of that situation, do we leave them in darkness? Do we leave them without water? Do we leave them to, I can't use the term that I've heard since I used to work with Habitat, where they just excrete and then just shy it. into the canal. I mean, do we leave them, or should we provide some level of, while we are working on a final concrete solution? That's just my own, and let me underline this, that's my own thinking. But it has to be fixed.
Well, as
and the
personal
minister,
assistant, I certainly hope you will be able to pass that on to the minister.
the minister has said that government is working on fixing it. Some scholars have been allocated lots from the CHNPA and are renting. So again, and this is why I want to spin back to people. We need to take responsibility, Stan. We need to take personal responsibility. Government doesn't solve all our problems. There are people who have been given land, and what do? They go back to squatting and they rent out the lands. We have this program that
There've been talk also of many of the officers at the housing department who facilitate those kinds of things happening.
Well, what people need to do,
we're going to take a break right now.
Okay.
We got to pay some bills, and we're going to get back
Very
on
good.
this
Before,
very same
let's
topic.
see, be accused of squatting.
This is the hot seat. Stay with us.